Welcome, dear viewers, to a place where shadows whisper and fear takes hold. Tonight, we journey into the heart of darkness with three true tales of unseen forces attacking the living. These stories are not for the faint of heart. Turn off the lights if you dare, and prepare to be consumed by the chilling reality that sometimes the things we can't see are the very things that can hurt us the most. Deep in the woods of northern Maine, nestled amongst towering pines, sat a dilapidated cabin. Its weathered wood and broken windows told tales of neglect and abandonment. Local legend held that the cabin was haunted, abandoned after a family had mysteriously disappeared a century prior. The story had been passed down through generations, growing more chilling with each retelling. It was this chilling tale that drew Jake and Emily, two adventurous souls with a passion for the paranormal, to the cabin's doorstep one cold November evening. They had heard the stories and felt an irresistible pull to uncover the truth. Armed with flashlights and cameras, they approached the structure. Their breath visible in the cold air, they exchanged nervous glances but pressed on, determined to document any supernatural activity. The silence of the woods was almost deafening, broken only by the crunch of their footsteps and the distant cry of an owl. The forest seemed to hold its breath, as if watching their every move. Pushing the door open, they stepped inside, the musty smell of decay assaulting their nostrils. The floorboards creaked under their weight, adding to the eerie atmosphere. The air inside was heavy, thick with an oppressive energy. It felt as though the walls themselves were closing in, suffocating them with an unseen force. They explored the interior, their flashlight beams dancing across dusty furniture and cobweb-draped walls. Each step they took seemed to echo through the empty rooms, amplifying their sense of isolation. The silence inside was unnerving, broken only by the sound of their own breathing. Every creak and groan of the old cabin seemed to whisper secrets of its dark past. As the hours passed, the atmosphere grew increasingly oppressive. The air seemed to thicken, making it difficult to breathe. Unseen forces seemed to toy with them, whispering their names from the shadows and creating cold spots that followed them. The temperature would drop suddenly, sending chills down their spines. Emily shivered, pulling her jacket tighter around herself. She could feel the cold seeping into her bones, a cold that seemed to come from within the very walls. "This place feels angry," she whispered. Her voice trembled, barely audible over the oppressive silence. Jake tried to rationalize the strange occurrences, blaming them on the wind or old pipes. But his explanations felt hollow, even to him. But deep down, a primal fear whispered that something was terribly wrong. His instinct screamed at him to leave, but curiosity kept him rooted to the spot. As the night wore on, the activity intensified. The cabin seemed to come alive with a malevolent energy. Objects began to move on their own, furniture scraping across the floor, doors slamming shut. The sounds echoed through the cabin, each one more jarring than the last. A sudden crash from upstairs sent them both scrambling back. Their hearts pounded in their chests as they tried to steady their nerves. They cautiously made their way towards the sound, their flashlights cutting through the darkness. Each step up the creaky staircase felt like a journey into the unknown. As they reached the top of the staircase, they were met with a sight that sent shivers down their spines. The air was thick with tension, almost palpable. The old rocking chair in the corner of the room was rocking violently back and forth. It moved with a force that seemed impossible for an inanimate object. Fear surged through them. The unseen force had made its presence undeniably known. They could feel its malevolent gaze upon them. With a shared look of terror, they turned and fled, stumbling down the stairs and out into the cold night. Their breaths came in ragged gasps as they ran, not daring to look back. They never returned to the cabin, the memory of that night forever etched in their minds. The haunting of the old cabin remained a mystery, a dark chapter in the annals of local legend. The dense, ancient Redwood National Park in California has long been a place of wonder and beauty. Its towering trees and serene atmosphere have captivated visitors for generations, but beneath the breathtaking scenery lies an undercurrent of unease, a sense that something unknown lurks within the shadows. It was this allure of the unknown that drew Sarah, an aspiring photographer, to the park's winding trails. She had heard stories of the park's mysterious aura and was eager to capture it through her lens. Armed with her camera, she ventured deep into the heart of the woods, determined to uncover the secrets hidden within. She wandered for hours, the sunlight filtering through the canopy above, casting dappled shadows on the forest floor. The air was alive with the sounds of nature, the chirping of birds, the rustling of leaves, and the distant call of wildlife. As the day wore on, the shadows grew longer, stretching like fingers across the forest floor. Sarah found herself drawn deeper into the park's embrace, her camera clicking incessantly as she captured the beauty around her. But as the sun began its descent, a sense of unease settled over her. The once welcoming forest now seemed to close in around her. She began to hear things, the snapping of twigs, the rustling of leaves, sounds that seemed to follow her every step. A shiver ran down her spine, and she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. The forest, once a place of beauty, now felt menacing. She quickened her pace, her camera forgotten as she tried to find her way back to the safety of the trailhead. But the forest seemed to conspire against her, leading her further astray with each step she took. The paths that once seemed clear now twisted and turned, confusing her. Panic began to set in as the last rays of sunlight faded from the sky, plunging the forest into darkness. It was then that she saw it, a fleeting shadow, moving just beyond the periphery of her vision. It was quick, almost too quick to be real. She stopped, holding her breath, her eyes scanning the darkening woods for any sign of movement. Her heart pounded in her chest. There it was again, a flicker of movement, a dark shape that seemed to melt into the trees, evading her gaze. Fear gripped her heart. She was alone in the wilderness, and something was watching her. Something that didn't want to be seen. She broke into a run, her breath catching in her throat, her footsteps echoing in the silent forest. But the sounds of pursuit followed her, the snapping of twigs, the rustling of leaves, as if something was chasing her. Just as she felt hope slipping away, she saw the faint glow of the trailhead in the distance, a beacon of safety. With a final burst of energy, she stumbled out of the woods and into the relative safety of the clearing, her heart still racing. Sarah never returned to the Redwood National Park, the memory of that night forever haunting her dreams. The shadow in the woods remained a mystery, a dark secret she would never forget. The house stood on a hill overlooking the town, a silent sentinel to a bygone era. Its weathered facade and creaking timbers whispered secrets of the past, a past that was both intriguing and terrifying. Locals whispered tales of its dark history, of the family that had perished within its walls. The house was said to be cursed, a place where the restless spirits of the past still roamed. It was this morbid fascination that drew the Carter family to the house. They were intrigued by the stories and the mystery that surrounded the old mansion. John Carter, a history professor, saw it as an opportunity to uncover the secrets hidden within its walls. He believed that the house held the key to understanding a significant part of the town's history. His wife Mary, a freelance writer, was more apprehensive, but she couldn't deny the allure of the house's tragic history. She hoped to find inspiration for her next novel within its haunted halls. Their teenage daughter, Lily, remained skeptical. She found the stories to be nothing more than old wives' tales, and she was more concerned with her social life than the house's history. From the moment they crossed the threshold, an oppressive atmosphere descended upon them. The air seemed to grow colder, and a sense of unease settled in their hearts. The air was thick with the smell of decay and dust. Cobwebs hung from the ceiling like ghostly drapes, and the floorboards creaked under their weight. They began unpacking, their voices echoing strangely in the cavernous rooms. Every sound seemed amplified, bouncing off the walls and creating an eerie symphony. John was drawn to the attic, its dusty boxes and forgotten treasures promising a glimpse into the house's past. He felt a strange compulsion to explore every corner, to uncover every secret. As he climbed the creaking stairs, he felt a chill run down his spine. It was as if the house itself was watching him, waiting to reveal its darkest secrets. The attic was a treasure trove of forgotten memories. Old photographs, letters, and trinkets lay scattered about, each one a piece of the puzzle that was the house's history. As John sifted through the remnants of a bygone era, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was not alone. The hairs on the back of his neck stood on end, and he felt eyes upon him. He heard noises, soft footsteps, the rustling of fabric, whispers that seemed to emanate from the very walls. It was as if the house was alive, breathing and whispering its secrets to him. He dismissed them at first, attributing them to the old house settling, but the sounds were too persistent, too deliberate to be mere coincidence. But as the days turned into nights, the activity intensified. The house seemed to come alive, its restless spirits growing bolder with each passing hour. Objects began to move on their own, doors slamming shut, furniture scraping across the floor. It was as if the house was trying to communicate, to make its presence known. Lily's bedroom seemed to be the epicenter of the disturbances. Her once peaceful sanctuary had become a place of terror. Her sleep was plagued by nightmares, and she would wake up screaming. The visions she saw in her dreams were too vivid, too real to be mere figments of her imagination. Mary, initially skeptical, began to share their fear. The evidence was undeniable, and she could no longer dismiss the strange occurrences as mere coincidences. She couldn't deny the evidence of her own eyes, the flickering lights, the disembodied voices. The house was alive with activity, and it was clear that they were not welcome. One night, as the family huddled together in the living room, the disturbances reached a fever pitch. The house seemed to be in a frenzy, its spirits desperate to make their presence known. The lights flickered violently, casting grotesque shadows that danced across the walls. The air was thick with tension, and the family could feel the malevolent presence closing in on them. They fled the house that night, leaving behind their belongings, their sanity hanging by a thread. The house had won, its dark history and restless spirits driving them away, leaving them with nothing but fear and unanswered questions. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the heart of darkness. If these tales of terror have sent shivers down your spine, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more terrifying tales from the abyss. We want to hear from you. Have you ever encountered an unseen force? Share your experiences in the comments below. Until next time, remember, the darkness is always listening, always watching. Stay safe and be wary of the invisible threats that may be lurking just beyond your perception.